You're listening to World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world. And here are your hosts, Aingeal Rose and Ahonu.
Hi, I am Ahonu, and this is my lovely Aingeal Rose. Well, today we have an interview for you. It's not us conducting the interview, it's a friend of ours from West Cork in Ireland, Sara Devoy. And she's a craniosacral therapist from Rosscarbery. And Aingeal Rose remembers Rosscarbery very well because it was a place where we would have loved to bought a house. Very beautiful part of the country. Do you want to say something about that before we go on?
Yeah, it's just a wonderful place. There were swans all over the place, and this house we were looking at went down to the ocean, and
captivating.
But we would have loved to have it.
Very, very beautiful place where Sara lives.
Quaint as well.
But she's interviewing Shirley Ward. Now, we've published 3 books for Shirley Ward. Can you tell us the name of them again?
Yeah. Fractals in the Womb, Healing Birth, Healing Earth, Birth, Earth, Our Future.
Yes, and those 3 books are the lifetime work of Shirley Ward, and she has done amazing work, pioneering work in bringing pre and perinatal psychotherapy to everybody's awareness. And it sounds complex, but in fact it's really all about birth trauma, and I hope for her sake I'm not oversimplifying it, but we've had our own little issues with birth trauma that have come up for us very recently. Isn't that right, Aingeal Rose?
For me, not for you.
Well, they're coming up for a lot of people actually, and what we're finding is that in this great time of change it's coming up to be dealt with. Do you want to say a word about that?
Well, just that they're really coming out now with all the discoveries about how a fetus absorbs everything while in the womb. You know, energies of the mother, energies of the father, energies of the family, prosperity things, not being wanted, etc., etc., etc. Well, that's what Shirley's work has been all these years, is helping people through birth trauma. So this interview that's coming up for you to listen to is Sara Devoy interviewing Shirley about her work and about these things concerning our birth. So have a listen, because it's bound to be very, very interesting.
Shirley Ward, it is just wonderful to be here with you, because if I allow myself to look back in time, I think I first met you at a process workshop way back when in Wicklow. And that could have been in the 1990s, before some people were born, which it kind of shows the timeless nature of this work. And, you know, perhaps we could begin to explore a bit today for people that are perhaps new to pre and perinatal psychology. And we don't even need to use those big words, do we? It's like, how can the relevance of the work that you've kind of held for so many moons and been, in a way, the mother here in Ireland to a lot of very important work. I'd love to hear, obviously, about your work, about what it means to you and the relevance of it for everybody in terms of how looking at our early life and maybe even life in the womb has relevance to our everyday ups and downs. But over to you, Shirley. Yeah. Maybe say who you are, because I failed to give you.
Yes, I'm Shirley. Yeah. And I really have devoted my life to the work of life in the womb, of what happens to us, you know, when we're conceived, and what happens to us in the gestation time and also at the time of birth. And I've been so lucky because I met Alison Hunter, who was one of Frank Lake's pastoral consultants. And Frank, of course, was the first British psychiatrist who believed everything that we've been teaching, which is that it all starts from conception. And Frank, 50, 60, 70 years ago, was talking about everything comes in at conception. And, you know, who's going to believe that?
Yes.
Well, the belief of it's their consciousness. Well, I believe that I've been researching fetal consciousness for nearly 50 years. And I have no questions. It happens. And there are things in life that are mysteries. I mean, the whole of religion, the whole of spirituality is a mystery. And sometimes you can't crack that mystery.
Mm.
And the people I've met in my life, I've been so blessed. And they're people who are, I would say, divinely spiritual. And Alison was. She died 5 years ago, and she had founded Amethyst. And the whole of the pre and perinatal work, which is looking at life from conception and before and after birth, and the effect that it has on our children's lives, and the effect it has on adults. And once I'd met Frank, and I did meet him, and he was wonderful. He used to show me his all his charts with all his diagrams, and he wanted to know what I thought, and he really, I caught from him a real passion of the work. And unfortunately, he died in 1982, and at the age of 67, 68, I think he was. A great loss, but there were some others who carried on the work. And I'm delighted, and I just hope some of our students are as well. But I mean, I'm working on my 4th book. Do you want me to mention that now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm holding one of your first books here, and
yes,
a bit vintage now, but vintage is trending.
That came out in 2014, and it's just come out again. It's just been redone, and there's a little picture of me there too. I didn't have any of it.
We make an even nicer picture of you today. I think you're looking splendid.
Well, I like colours, and I'm very much into the chakras and the colours, and I like to wear the colours. But when you asked me, I was delighted that you asked me. I've been wanting to do this for quite a long time. But I had COVID twice, and then I had 2 cataracts removed, and then they said I was going deaf. I don't think I am, and I've got the hearing aids, but I don't wear them.
No.
And I eat very well. I eat good food, and I think I'm not doing too badly. I'm 83 in September.
Absolutely, sharp as a bell.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely lucid. But I'm writing the book, the 4th book. That one I wrote in 2014, and it's been 10 years. It's been renewed sort of a couple of years ago, and now I'm 2 or 3 years late with this one because the world changed. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, the world's always changing. We're always changing, and the way I was going to write the book wouldn't be relevant anymore, and it would be obsolete. I've had to really meditate or be quiet, and really see where I'm going with this one, because it's an important book. It will be called Conscious Global Healing. And really, Fractals from the Womb was the first book, but then my editor, Kevin, said, let's do 3 based on Fractals from the Womb. Yes. So, the second was Healing Birth and Healing Earth. Mm-hmm. And then Birth, Earth and Our Future. And now this one, Conscious Global Healing. And what I've done is put together the destruction of the planet that we're seeing. And I'm incorporating aspects of human behavior which cause unwanted negative patterns. which lead to the destruction of planet Earth by us, by humanity.
You've got me really tuned in there, Shirley. And I'm wondering if we could just make sure that everybody else is with us on this about those. So just to make, so what I think I'm hearing you saying is that there's destructive human patterning that I think we can all witness. We just don't even have to, turn on the TV. It's kind of all around us. That there are certain destructive patterns, sparring off in all parts of the planet as well as in ourselves. Are you kind of saying loud and clear that these can begin by the way that we've been nurtured in the womb, that they may have something to do with our time in utero?
Well, yes, I think they are. I think they do, and because of the way, I believe that our journey from conception to birth really defines who we are and how we relate to each other, how we relate to our families, how do we relate at work, how we relate to the planet. And so we contribute towards climate change and the destruction of the planet. I can't see where else it's coming from, but we are, what we see, we have created. And I believe that what we wish to see, we can recreate. And we can do that by being a bit more careful of how we treat our babies from conception. Not everybody's going to do it. It's not for everyone. But we need a few more people on the planet who are wise to what we are causing and how we can change it. Because conception, gestation, and birth are what I call the fractal patterns of everything we do or say.
So that's a new word for a lot of people. This
It is a
fractal word. So take me back again, so I'm really sure that I'm understanding. So I feel, again, you were saying that there's certain things that happen at very key times of our life that actually we have no control of. Because I don't know about you, I was conceived and certain things happened to me, and there was agency, I believe, in that process. But, and I think that's a moot point, Gabelmate and others don't believe that the embryo or the fetus has any agency in the process. So that would be something we can maybe come back to. But so are you saying that there's a way of being a parent, there's a way of conceiving that will actually have an impact on our future?
Yes, conscious conception. Simple as that. If you want a baby, you're conscious and aware, because the problems come from the unplanned pregnancies. And so everybody's fault, because we are just, ignorance is the only sin, and we are very ignorant about around this type of life, So that's what I'm working on. Do you think we've got the point over?
I mean, it's challenging. It's challenging for parents to be hearing if they had a different kind of conception.
Yes, but it's not no one's fault. No one can take blame. It's no one's fault, because if we are ignorant and we don't know, and for God's sake, it's only in the last 50 years or so that we've become knowledgeable, or it's become mentioned. But in my early days as a teacher, I used to teach the naughty ones. The ones I was anyone who can control them. I loved them and they loved me, and we were all naughty together, And the mothers used to come in, and one mother particularly, about her son, she said, he did have a difficult birth. And I knew nothing about this in those days. But as a mother, she was aware that something could have happened.
Right.
And, I've never forgotten her. I don't know what happened to her son. He was a lovely boy, but he was naughty. But she knew where it came from.
Right.
But there was nothing to help her with that I didn't know, and it was years after that I put two and two together.
Yes.
I thought, yeah, mums do know.
Right.
Mums do know.
But I hope in the same breath, Shirley, that you're going to be able to tell us, and I'd love to hear if there's time, and maybe another time if there's not, a little bit about those clinical stories, because I think people love stories, don't they? And they love
my books are full of them.
They are, absolutely. So
and quite honestly, young people don't want to read books or buy books or whatever, but and Karma, who works with the children, there's some lovely case studies in there of the children that she's healed.
Yes.
And there's adult ones. I love listening to people's stories.
Yeah, so that maybe we can weave a story or two in, just a one that you remember, because I think parents also, or humans and teachers, want to hear that it is repairable, even if we have messed up here or there.
Oh yeah, it is. But we've got this is the tip of the iceberg. We're only just getting into it, and you see, I tend to be quite unassuming. I don't push myself forward. I never have done. And so maybe I've done the wrong thing. I should have advertised myself more, but I couldn't, because I couldn't cope with any more than I was doing, because, I'm delighted that you're around and delighted you're doing, because there are very few people in Ireland doing this work. And the great thing is that any of our students, and we trained a lot, we've got a lot of graduates out there, but they incorporate it, like you incorporate it into craniosacral, yeah. And that's what they're doing. They are incorporating it into their lives and into their work, and that is what it is. And so, but I concentrate on it because I've got the knowledge and the experience, and I need to keep writing.
You too. So continue. I will try not to interrupt. Go for it. Tell me.
No, that's all right. But you see, one of the things I said to you was what I'm looking at is humanity of the future, because I believe that this work, and if more people can be a bit more conscious about what's happening to their babies in utero, it will help humanity of the future. And I was going through some of my students' essays, and I don't have students anymore. We finished. Alison died 5 years ago, but we finished about 7 or 8 years ago doing the training. But I came across something that one of my students quoted me. And I thought, oh my goodness, some of this work's coming back at me, thank God.
Yeah.
And it was from a Sacred Journey workshop in September 1995. Wow. And in the 90s, I was pretty busy because I was working in Northern Ireland, and I was working in Vienna because I was working at the United Nations. And so there was a lot going on. And I was meeting many coaches, and also I do tend to meditate quite a lot. And I think that people on the other side, people who have died, no, we don't pull them back or anything, but they are there.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I do write something or hear something, and the thing that I'd written, or the thing that I'd said in this workshop was, about the humanity of the future. What spirit wants us to do, whatever spirit might be in your life, whatever, who you pray for or who you meditate or something. They want to teach us to visualize men, women, and children of the future, in order that we can put into consciousness what humanity will need in the future. Now, this was before the new millennium, but I was aware that something was going to happen. This great new era was going to happen. Yes. So what humanity would need in the future, that would entail a deeply spiritual essence, And the older I've got, I've realized that this is what people are looking for. And to entail this deeply spiritual essence, to take humankind where few have gone before, which sounds very Star Trekky, but it has its meaning, you know. There are some people going to places deeply spiritual where maybe only a few people have gone before. And this the spirituality will transcend. And I think this is happening. And, you know, this spirituality will transcend all emotional and psychological problems. And it's a spirituality that's been evolving for centuries. And in those who study mysticism, and I do believe that we're all mystics. And now this might seem, why am I talking about this? Because it's interrelated. It's my book's about interrelatedness and interconnectedness. You know, I talk about space and I talk about energy, quantum energy, and it's all there.
Yes.
And you're saying, well, what's it to do with pre and perinatal? It's all there. Frank said it was all there. He said it was there at at conception. And you know, at the age I am, I'm really got more understanding now of what I'm talking about. I didn't know what I was talking about in 1995. I just knew that there's a humanity of the future that's going to be different. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm getting really curious, and I'm just wondering about this feeling about the mystic. You know, like we don't have to define it. You know, that's something else, but you're touching something.
Yes.
Or touching into something. And it's interesting that as you're, you know, say moving into a different stage in your own evolution, if you like, that you feel like you're getting closer to it as well, or you're refining something.
Yeah. Well, I've always believed that we are spiritual beings in a physical body.
Right.
And I read somewhere the other day, are we really? You know, somebody said, are we really spiritual beings in a physical body? Well, we can't prove it. But I've always believed that we come from the light.
Yes.
And, you know, the darkness comes when we come into the physical body. So it's very important at a conception to know that when you're conceiving a child, it needs to come, that soul needs to come into the light. But for me, a mystic is someone who really seeks a direct personal experience with the divine.
Brilliant.
Make sense?
It does. No, it's a lovely. I'm just bringing that together with this image of the spirit coming into form.
Yeah.
And in a way, sort of holding the two together. You know, this idea of the spirit coming in. I mean, that again is a belief that not everybody has to buy, but I guess that is something that I would concur with totally. This idea of the spirit coming into form, and the spirit perhaps already knowing this mystic, if you like, as in, would you feel the embryo in itself is a mystic?
Yeah, I mean, I know the embryo is conscious. It's conscious of what's going on.
Yes.
I mean, in my own life, I was born in Peterborough, but I was conceived at my mum's house. Mum and Dad lived very close to Peterborough Cathedral, which was an old Benedictine monastery.
Yeah.
So my mother, when she was pregnant, she would walk to work and she'd go through she'd go through the yard by the side of the cathedral and she'd go to work. The cathedral was there. I'd been conceived and I was sort of embroiled and marinated, I suppose, in some sort of spiritual energy. And as I grew up, The school I went to was attached to the cathedral, so we went to carol services and we went to services, and I used to go in on my own and listen to um, the offices that they sang and heard the organ playing. And I was very old, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And in those days you could wander around and not be hurt.
Yeah.
And then I sort of went into religious life. I had the spiritual. I wanted to be alone.
Yes.
I didn't get married for a number of reasons, but one of them was that I liked to be in a spiritual contact, and of course, what's happened recently is that I now go to I've been to Glenstore, and we have Alison is buried in Glenstore Abbey Cemetery.
Yeah, I know what that means. Yeah,
you know it. Yeah. So you can take your ashes. And she wanted. I came back one day and I said, I've got my spot in Glenstore Abbey Cemetery. Oh, she said, I want to go there.
Yeah.
Yes. This is a story of the mysticism, or there is a deep.
What?
There's a deep place in everyone.
Yes.
And I think that that mysticism is a spiritual practice. And it's a journey that involves seeking that deeper understanding. And it's a deeper understanding of, I guess, like the mystery of existence.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have these questions, what's the meaning of life?
Yes.
But I think it's through intuition, really. And you do it through intuition and contemplation, meditation, or other spiritual practices. And everybody in the world, it doesn't matter what religion you belong to, you can go into that intuition or inner knowing and inner reflection meditation. And it's nothing big, it's just having a think.
For sure, but is it also, it seems to be very clear to me that your pathway of exploring your early life has extension. I mean, not only were you, as you say, marinating in the energy of that, from your own conception, but it in a way has really added to your spiritual journey, added to your spiritual path, without a doubt. That it's been a way, I'm saying, not an aspect of your way to a deeper and deeper self-discovery and mystical knowing in your being.
Well, yes, it's quite strange, really, because I was born in 1941, so I was conceived in December 1940. Battle of Britain, everything else going on.
Yeah.
And so, it was a deeply dark time in the world. And somehow that spirituality, sometimes I've lost it. Sometimes something's happened and I've let it go. But I'm also very aware that there is more distress and suicide because people have left the church. The church, okay, there were lots of things wrong. And you don't have to go to church to be spiritual. You can have that spiritual, that spiritual essence and keep it. But when the hope has gone, that there's something there, that's when the darkness sets in.
Yes.
Everybody has to have something to believe in. And I think that when we are conceived, we do have something to believe in. And the way in which we are welcomed, I think the way that we are welcomed will make a difference to how we live our lives. And this, linking in with this, that the Spirit wants us to look at moving away from destructive behaviors. And those destructive behaviors we learn at that very beginning. It's not when we're born, it's when we're conceived.
Tell me more about that, like how we experience something that isn't harmonious at that point?
But one with me was, I had this terrible thing about everything that happens is going to be bad. No, okay, I've got that one thing over. Now what's going to happen next? And is something going to happen next at school? Am I going to get chucked out of the hockey team? Am I going to get a detention? I was very naughty.
Yeah.
Very naughty at school, yeah. And so I was always waiting for the next bad thing to happen. And I found out that this came from my mother as she carried me during the war. She was waiting for the next bomb to drop. She was living her life. She was going to work, but the bombs were going over. And what did they call the other things? I can't remember now.
Not jitterbugs, but something like that.
Yes, that you got it. Something bugs. And so I carried her fear of the next bomb, the next thing that was going to happen. And when I got it, I linked it up. That's why I get so frightened of the next thing that's going to happen. And in some ways, it stopped me with my work too, because I've been thinking, oh, nobody's going to listen to this. Nobody's going to want this. Nobody's going to believe me. And I've had to get rid of that. And I've needed this last year to just be serene and just be with it and say, yeah, it's okay. Because what we've got to do, what I've got to do, and what all of us have to do, is replace these destructive behaviours with conscious behaviours.
Yes, so good thing, because I think a lot of people will really relate to what you're saying, and maybe they won't have been on the journey to explore their conception, or maybe they will. But in terms of, say, those beliefs, it could be really interesting to just kind of spit out some of those beliefs that you've often seen crop up for people in the work that you've facilitated.
Well, I can tell you, I've got it down here. Am I wanted? Am I wanted is the first thing. Am I welcome? Am I lovable? Do I belong? I mean, this is profound stuff. You may not seem it, but it is, because am I safe and protected? Am I seen? Am I heard? Am I be felt? It's all to do with love.
Yes.
And if you're welcomed, you're not rejected. And rejection, to me, rejection is the one thing that is so prolific in people who were not sure that they were wanted. And it's not their fault. It's not their parents' fault. It's something we have never understood. It's something we've never looked at. You know, I just had the Irish Association of Humanistic and Integrated Psychotherapy have just published my article on suicide in two parts.
Definitely see a link to that. Let's link that with this talk. Absolutely.
Okay. But in the editorial, for the first time ever, they've seen my work as groundbreaking work.
How many years?
I founded it 30 years ago. And I can't remember. But for the first time, it's gone in the editorial, Shirley Ward's article on suicide, the groundbreaking work. And I thought, oh my God.
Yes.
The light. Yes.
We're sorry to be using it, darkness into light, but yes, please.
Yes. I mean, the things that I've said, you know, all of us want to be wanted. All of us want to be welcomed. We want to be lovable. We want to be loved. We want to belong. would it be safe and protected and to be seen and felt and be heard? This is what I'm talking about. These are the sorts of things. It's quite simple. It's not medical language.
Yeah. But
it's not medical language.
It answers. So the thing is the depth that you have traveled with this, Shirley, and of course we can also look to, some other associations that we can reference down below. But it's like the research is there. The books, and your books are there as well. And it's like...
The research is there. It's so important. I wish to God they would sell.
Yes. Yeah.
But I guess it's my own fault because I haven't simplified it. And so when I say I've got to simplify in the fourth book. And I do thank you for asking me to do this because it's helping me to write the next book.
Because a lot of people would say that it's navel gazing. Why would you need to worry about how you were born? Why would you need to worry about something that happened eons ago? But I suppose that would perhaps bring us forward to this idea of the fractals that we touched upon, that, a wave after wave, that if there's something that's been kind of, perhaps you could explain a little bit about how things are kind of laid down in those early trimesters. So we don't need the science of it.
That would take me, that will probably need another beginning on that one.
Okay, well, let's say that we could talk about that and we could explain to people about how that is laid down. That would be a very interesting thing for, psychologists and parents and others to understand how are things laid down. But the remarkable thing is we can transform it.
Well, I write about life scripts become birth scripts. That was where I started. That's where we started. Life scripts. The way you are born is the way that life script, that birth script becomes a life script. But we, over the years, Alison Ahonu and myself have taken this back to conception. And so the conception script becomes the birth script. Now, I can't go into this. It's too detailed at the moment, but it's in my books. It's there. And my books are written differently. They're not in chapters. They don't go down very well, I don't think, in America. It's not how they want my books written. And my books are written for someone who can open it and open a page and learn something. Say, oh, whether it's about space travel or whether it's about satellites looking down on the planet and going in, and you can see the whole of Egypt in a different way. And archaeologists now don't have to dig holes for 30 years. Yeah. They look down from the satellite and there's a temple and they can go straight in. Mm. It's a different way of living. Yes. And if only we could say, this is what's going to happen at conception if we don't want this child, and think of what a beautiful baby, what a beautiful personality we'll have if this child is wanted. And we love them. And it's going on. Yes. There are places in the world. You've only got to go on the internet and you'll find different organizations who are saying, healing birth to heal the earth. Yes. It's there. Yes. But it's not being talked about. It's not being, there are quite a lot of important people I'd like this word to get to. And hopefully it will. I mean, one of the things about this, I'm 83 in September, but all this is relevant now. Yes. It's relevant to me at 83. I've lost the status and all the stuff I was doing. I lost my community. I lost Alison. I lost my house. And, everything. And I was homeless, and so was Carmel. We were homeless. We were evicted. So everything went. And I've had to, in the last 3 years, I've had to start again. And all this actually is, I'm in a new place. Are my neighbours accepting me? This is what happens with older people. But it happens with every single event in our lives, the whole of our lives. All these things, whether we go to a new school,
Yeah.
you know, whether we're 4 or 5, go to the junior school, go to the secondary school, go to college, go to university, get married, have a new family. All these things I've talked about, being wanted, welcomed. And it's in every single event.
Yes. So it's like a fractal of what's happened. And I'm guessing that's what you mean by the fractal.
That's the reason.
And to look at the sort of, I suppose some people say like a Rubik's Cube or a koan, to see, well, what, you know, even when I remember absolutely when you were displaced or whatever it was, evicted, you know, very unfortunate situation. And then you had to find your ground again. You had to find a nest again, or a place to do your work again and to live. I mean,
that's right. And, you know, I've sat for the last 3 years. Well, I don't sit all the time. And I say to Spirit, or I say to the Holy Spirit, why? Why? And then I come out with, you've got to write a book on it. You've got to tell people not to lose hope. And I think I sent you something about persistence.
Yes.
I sent you a thing about persistence. And I suddenly opened it. And this is what happens to me. I don't know what I'm going to do. I didn't know what I was going to do today. But then the box and the things fall on me. You know, I think, oh, yes, I just need to sort this out and we've got something to do.
Yes.
But it's about persistence. And it's, no, this is when the cataracts don't work.
So, no, go ahead and read that. And look, we might put this underneath the piece as well, because I think that word hope is absolutely needed at this time.
Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of education derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan, press on, has solved and always will solve the problem of human race. Now that to me was, you know, and who wrote this was Calvin Coolidge, the President of the United States, from 1923 to 1929. He wrote this quotation. Yeah, it meant a lot. And the slogan, press on, I always think of the Queen, our beloved Queen, who we lost.
Yes.
Used to say, now what was it? Keep calm and carry on.
Yeah.
And to me, that's persistence.
Yeah, exactly.
You see, I think I said this before, actually, on a thing. I can just imagine the Queen Mother when she was pregnant with her beloved Elizabeth, you know, say, keep calm and carry on.
So could we, Shirley, make a little extra few lines in that, as in keep calm and carry on, and maybe find words to stay connected with where we've come from and where we're evolving to, because it's that connection with spirit that is obviously at the very core of this work, isn't it?
Well, it's the interconnectedness, you know, and the more I talk about this, the more I think, here I am talking about conception, but I'm talking about the rest of everything. And this is what's in my books. I'm talking about the space station. I'm talking about space. I'm talking about them looking for another home for us in thousands of years when the planet gets too hot. You know, it's all interconnected.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, look, you've really expressed that beautifully, Shirley, and thank you so much. And maybe we'll come back to, you know, a few other little chats in time to come, and you know, drill into those topics, because I think it's certainly becoming a topic in our household. Even like, you know, young people say that I live with, they'd be saying, what do you mean there was a bit of agency involved? So I mean, this is a kind of a little cliffhanger we could have, perhaps, Shirley, that, you know, the idea that is there agency or isn't there agency, or is it just a biological event that happens in the conception? That's, you know, that's something that we could tease out a little bit more, isn't it? And, or is it just something, as you say, a couple of things coming together, like the Big Bang Theory, or is there actually something else going on? Well, that would be something to, a lot of fruity topics within all of that.
Oh, I love Stephen Hawking's work. I mentioned him, but there's so much in the books, you know, they can get a lot of the details that I'm talking about today. I've tried to avoid stuff that's printed there.
Yes.
That I could just talk today, you know.
Yes.
But I'd be happy to do more.
Absolutely.
I hope you enjoyed that and it has given you food for thought, because it is a very important topic, especially considering what we're going through as a world and what this time of change is all about. And we really have to dig down deep to heal our own wounds. So,
yeah,
upward and onward, as I always say.
And you will find links to Sara Devoy and Shirley Ward down below. And do get in touch, because it is important stuff. And you'll find her books, of course, on Amazon and where all good books are sold. And you will also find the links to those down below. So until next time, blessings from myself, Ahonu, and from Aingeal Rose.
All right, bye.
You have been listening to Aingeal Rose and Ahonu on World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world.